Hello, welcome to part 5 of the section on parabolas. Last section we learned that if we've got the function y1 of x equals k times x squared, and then if we add some number d onto x before putting it into the function, that will give us a new function, y2 of x equals y1 of x plus d, which is equal to y1 of x plus d, which is equal to k times x plus d squared. Then suppose d is negative. So if d is negative, then that means we're actually subtracting something off x when we add d on. For example, 2 plus negative 5 is actually equal to 2 minus 5. So if d is negative and we're adding it on, that means we're subtracting something. So when d is negative, that adding d on to x before putting it into y1 will actually move the parabola to the right. Subtracting some amount of units will actually move the parabola to the right, and it will move it to the right by d units. If d, on the other hand, is positive, then that means we're adding on some number, and that will actually move parabola to the left by d units. Alright, so that's what we learned last time. That's how to move the parabola y1 of x equals kx squared. That's how we move that thing around to the left or the right. This section we're going to learn how to move things up or down. To begin, let's suppose we have the parabola y1 of x is equal to k times x plus d squared, where d is any number. Let's just suppose for this case that d is negative, so we've moved to the right. And so maybe our parabola looks something like this. Remember, it touches that axis. I always draw it a little bit up, but it's supposed to be on there. It's supposed to touch the axis at that point. Maybe I should redraw it again. There we go, we're touching. That's what we need to be doing. Okay, so that's our parabola. y1 of x is equal to k times x plus d squared. It should be pretty symmetric about this line, even though it's not in the drawing, I know. But I'm sure you'll get over that. I'm sure you get the idea of what we're doing here. Now let's plot some values. Let's realize what's going on here. No, let's not do that. Suppose I want to move this thing up. I want to move this parabola, oops, I want a new color. I want to move this parabola up by c units. I'll call it e units. I want to move this parabola up by e units. So the whole thing has moved upwards by e units. So how do I do that? Well, it's actually really simple. All I need to do is add e to y1 of x. So let's make y2 of x. I have a problem with the pen here. y2 of x, there we go. y2 of x is equal to y1 of x plus e, which is equal to k times x plus d squared plus e. Well, that'll do the trick nicely, because for each of these y values that came out of the y1 function for each x value, for our new one, they're simply going to be shifted up by e units, because all we've done is add e on to our y values that come out. So that shifts the whole graph upwards by e units, assuming e is positive, of course. The way I've drawn e has to be a positive number. If e is negative, or if we add on some negative number, let's go ahead and do that. So this is y3 of x equals k times x plus d squared minus e, where e is a positive number, but we're subtracting it this time. That's going to shift the whole thing down by e units instead of up. So that's going to shift the whole thing down. This distance here is e, and this distance here is e. So that's how to move the parabola up and down. We now know how to move the parabola side to side, which is by adding on some number d. It moves it to the right if d is negative, and it moves it to the left if d is positive. We know how to move the parabola up and down by adding on or subtracting some number e, where e is greater than 0. If we subtract a positive number, it moves the parabola down by e units, and if we add on a positive number, e, it moves it up by e units. And also, remember, we know how to control how fat or thin the parabola is. We know how to control how fat or thin the parabola is, and that's by using this value k here. K is always the thing that determines how fat or thin it is. If you make k a really big positive number, then the parabola is going to be very, very long and skinny. If you make k really small positive number, the parabola is going to be very fat. And if you make k a negative number, the parabola is just going to flip upside down because all the y values will be negative now instead of positive. Alright, so we now know how to pretty much draw every single parabola. In the next part, we're going to actually prove that we really do know how to draw every single parabola by the definition I give. Until that time, though, take care. Don't forget to download the notes and have a look at some of the exercises. For the last two, you should be able to do them by now. The last two are actually kind of tough. They really require a good understanding of the subject. But I've pretty much just told you how to do them, because remember, to move parabola across either side, you just need to add something on or subtract something if we're only talking about positive numbers. And to move it up or down, you just need to add or subtract something. Okay, see you guys in part 6. Thanks for watching. Take care.